Hello guys! So welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I posted something because I opened OP13, the case. It wasn't great, so I didn't really have the motivation to post it. But since then, I've been playing a lot of competition, so a lot of standard battles, a lot of flagship events. And I think trying to figure out what to play in this meta, and right now, the deck that I'm focusing on is Red Purple Roger. I've had varying degrees of success with the deck, and I think for anyone who likes the ramp and aggressive meta, this Red Purple Roger deck might be one of the more fun decks that you can find right now in the meta. And if you have any comments and anything to add to the discussion, please add them on down below in the comment section. So at the point of recording, right, we only have data for up to week 4 of the meta. So as you can see, from week 3 to week 4, there's a big jump for Red Purple Roger because of the promo card. So if you want to play this deck, you do need 4 of the promo card. Also, I actually think that Red Purple Roger has a winning-ish matchup against the top 3. What's going against it is more of its consistency. I think Red Purple Roger is like a strong but kind of lucky deck. If you want to do very well in a competition with a lot of matches, Red Purple Roger will suffer a little bit. But if you get lucky in those 4-5 matches kind of games, then you actually have a good chance of winning. Alright, so down to the deck. For Red Purple Roger, right, why the consistency is so bad is because there are 2 things that you need to work around. So the first thing is the RAM curve. And the second thing is, during the late game, right, you need certain key cards to win, which is why it's really difficult to get lucky enough to consistently win all the games. But let's talk about the RAM curve first. So if you are starting first, right, the typical RAM curve will be buggy into, for me, either Bullet or Bon Clay, and then into either Gaban or Relay. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between Bon Clay, Bullet, and also Gaban and Relay. I know some people will have played your Oden blocker card, but to me that's a very weak card because in the turn that comes next, actually you get a 6k attacker in Bullet, and once your leader is 7k, right, the 6k blocker becomes a little bit redundant, not that great a card. And the problem is Oden is a 5 cost card, so if you accidentally miss the first ramp on your 3 dawn turn, actually your game collapses completely. So the 3 cost and 4 cost ramp cards just seem to be better. If you can ramp 1 that turn, the next turn you get lucky with the life draw or you get 1 more buggy or something like that, you can actually catch up with your ramp curve. So 5 cost ramp cards to me not so good. You want to play 3 and 4. And also Bon Clay is extremely important for this matchup because of Ace. So Bon Clay kind of forces the opponent to play a Jozu or one of the Amos cards to bounce your Bon Clay back. At the same time, it doesn't affect your curve. It affects theirs. They have force to play it, but it doesn't affect yours. Because once they play the 10 cost new gate, right, you have a 12 cost Bon Clay there that can wreak havoc against your opponent. So that's why I put Bon Clay in. I also think it's kind of good in the mirror matchup. It forces your opponent to play Relay. Especially if they're going second, that's not something they really usually want to do. So I think Bon Clay just generally a pretty good card to add in for RP Roger. For Gaban and Relay, you notice that I only got 3 Relay here because I prioritize having 3 of these big cards. And to me, right, actually Relay is not that fantastic. It only works very well if you need to rest the Marco against Ace or rest the War Curie card against Imu to take damage, because this makes it such that if you're starting first, you don't get that 7k attack from your leader, which is the 8k attack on that turn. So that minus 2k difference, I feel like it makes up for it for against Gaban, because against most matchup, Relay doesn't stay on the field very long. So against Zoro, it is eliminated almost immediately. For me, when you play Gaban, right, because of the draw 2 cards, it actually makes a lot of sense. And also because of the 1k counter, I'm putting in 1 more than Relay. So if you know that you are against Ace, you usually don't want to play Gaban. But if you know that you are against someone that cannot get rid of doesn't have a pudding, actually Gaban is very helpful, especially if you know you need more cards in your hand. So that is if you are starting first. If you are starting second, it's actually even more simple. You just want to play a Bullet into Gaban, which is quite simple. If you miss either Bullet or Gaban, it's actually quite possible to get one of your low RAM cards. So on the surface, this seems pretty impossible because it needs so many RAM cards, right? But I did some calculation because of the number of possible RAMs here. Actually, to not be able to RAM first turn at all is only about 4%. Honestly, I mean, I'm calculating if you draw Shanks, you are able to search, you're more than likely to get one of these 2 cards if your first set of cards and your mulligan doesn't have your your event or buggy. So it really is not that difficult. But for everything to come together, that's a challenge. So I would say that RP Roger requires some degree of luck. Alright, so if you know this meta, right, Ace and your Imu, and also sometimes Zoro if they play a lot of that Koshiro card, actually this meta is blocker intensive. Therefore, one card that becomes very important actually in this meta is your Goldie Roger Secret Rare. What Roger does is that it allows you to, if played correctly, just ignore all the blockers. And for a meta where it's blocker intensive, any deck that has access to raid will play Roger. And any deck who will play Roger tends to play either Tetch for Ace because you can control your own life, right? Or this OP01 Sanji that controls your life, so that even if your opponent don't strike you, you have the opportunity to get your own life to 0 and end the game. The strategy becomes more complicated. You need to time when you can play the Roger so that you can play Sanji. Or for me, right, if I'm against a matchup like Ace, sometimes I play early and I bait them into again using a Jozu or some way to bounce back my Sanji, which doesn't really affect my life too much because it's a 2-hit counter. And then later part of the game, I can still manipulate my way into Goldie Roger. So I think all this is like very strategic. The next combo that you want to look at will actually naturally be your Uta and Goldie Roger combo. So this is actually quite disgusting. Against like Ace, where he's going to heal like 12k all the time, actually this combination allowing you to have one more blocker on the field is very helpful, especially because this blocker is 6 cost and most card removal cards right now doesn't really get rid of Uta. I mean, you have your Jozu to bounce it back, but usually not that worth it, and then your mask doesn't get rid of Uta. The later part of the game when you run out of your Goldie Roger or your Whitebeard, actually then you have a chance of like protecting yourself. Then of course, I think with Shanks, if you can have 1 or 2 Shanks down, right, basically you are unkillable, especially against Imu. Like if you have 2 Shanks down and one of these cards, right, no matter how many of their cards they have on field, right, they can maximum hit you 2 times. Right, and that is extremely powerful. So you can actually ignore whatever they have on the field, just let them do what they want, and then when you have enough on the board, right, just clear the game. So I think this Shanks is actually very important. After some experiment, I mean, I've tried having 2 Whitebeard, I've tried having 4 Shanks, 2 Whitebeard, but I think right now, at the very moment, I'm trying to see if this 3T3 lineup is going to be best for me. I suspect it's not. I suspect that you don't need so many Whitebeard, but we have to give it a try. And I might go back to playing 4 really just to make sure that I can rest a 5 cost blocker to end the game. Okay, the only card that I think people don't usually play is this Conqueror's Haki card, because I realized that you can actually search for it, so the consistency is quite high, and without any Dawn in your hand, you get to have a 2-hit counter. So other people play Kamusari. Kamusari is a 3k counter for your characters, but it requires you to discard 1 card. And if you play RP Roger long enough, you realize that having no resources is eventually one of his problems, especially against Ace. So I feel like requiring you to get rid of 1 card is not very helpful, and I'd rather play Conqueror's Haki because controlling Dawn is a lot easier than controlling how many cards you have in your hand. With Whitebeard and also Roger, the turn that you play these 2 cards, you are usually not going to have a tremendous effect of using the extra Dawn, so you can use these 2 events card quite freely. Additionally, Kamusari, apart from the mirror, I don't think there are a lot of high power cards that you want to minus that you can definitely get rid of. One of the good cards to use against will be Whitebeard, the blocker, but they can always choose not to block, so a lot of things gets in the way of that card, and when you use it, you don't develop your board, which is one of the things that RP Roger needs to do in order to win. So I think right now I prefer this card over Kamusari. The best part is against your Imu opponents, right? By using this card, everybody minus 1000, which means that actually you kind of have for 1 turn a pseudo Shanks on the board. At the same time, right, it affects even the leader. Of course, it doesn't work as well in terms of your defense against your leader, because it cannot add on to your leader, right? But you notice that against Imu and a lot of the decks, they will try to chip away at you with a, like, if you are 7k, they hit you at 7k, if you are 9k, they hit you at 9k, so you actually just need a 1k counter. And these 1k counters, right, is used across the board. So I actually favor Conqueror's Haki at the moment. You can try out and let me know. I know a lot of people still play like Kamusari, and I've even seen a couple of Frankie Laserbeam, but to me, you don't need a 4k and 3k counter to defend your leader. Alright, so that's it for the deck, and we'll go down to see how we play some of the games. Okay, so against Ace, right, actually you usually want to start second. So this is one thing that I didn't really mention. Roger is more consistent when you start second. And when you start second, right, actually it disrupts most of the meta deck's curve because both Ace and Imu want to start second. But at the same time, you are stronger if you start first. So in that sense, right, other matchup, their inconsistency lies in whether they can start on the turn that they want. But for Roger, you have much less of that problem. So I kind of prefer that. Everybody is gambling on something, but for Roger, I rather gamble on the cards than the starting of turn 1 or turn 2. Because some of them, right, is really ridiculous. If you are starting first on Imu, it's really, really bad for you, and it's almost impossible to win against Ace if you are starting on first turn if you are Imu. Okay, so generally, right, the first attack, I will take it against Ace because it doesn't really affect me. And I think this is actually a pretty good counter later. I can always use Rayleigh against the Mako to get additional damage in. Okay, so this is where I sometimes will decide to attack him 8k. Okay, the reason is very simple, right? Because without a given Dawn here, they are very unlikely to use Mako to block. And I think I can force them to either discard or take 1 damage. And they don't draw an extra card here, which is very important against Ace. Okay, double blocker. So usually I'll take another one, but you always have to be mindful against Ace if they're actually going to play Pudding. Oh wow, he's going to attack me. Because of the Pudding threat, sometimes I will block this, but for now, I don't think so. Okay, because I will have to get rid of one of them eventually against the Whitebeard, so it doesn't really make sense for me to play Relay. I'm thinking if I should Bond Clay to force out something. Playing Gaban against Ace is a bad idea. I think I might do this. And then play Sanji out to reduce the number of cards in my hand so that he's not so tempted to use Pudding. And then hit him 8k twice. So against Ace, right, if he hasn't used the leader effect yet, hitting him with an odd number difference is kind of silly, so I try not to do that. The value is not there, and even if I have one unused Dawn, I can fake him into thinking I might have an event card at least, which is my preferred way of dealing with Ace in general. So he has no 1k counter in this sense. Right, so the natural thing for him to do would be to use the blocker. This is a turn where he might use the event card and things go very bad for him. So another reason why I picked Roger over Ace, even though I really wanted to play Ace in the first place, is because I realized that both these decks, sometimes if you get unlucky, it really sucks. But I just don't like that Ace is very defensive, it takes a very long time to win the game, and that's not really in my temperament. So if you're not that patient a player, try out Roger, I would say. It's really a lot more quick tempo. Okay, so usually this one I will defend. Okay, normally I will do 10k to 8k and see what happens here. Because I'm quite sure he cannot take my 12k to 8k if I borrow this. I think his idea was that I wouldn't dare to use it, but because there is no blocker here, actually this is the optimal time to use Bond Clay, which I will since I have 2 relatively useless cards here. Right. Oh, Otama. So reducing the number of counters in his hands, very strange move. Because normally you would think that if I have Roger, you need to defend against Roger, you need to collect counters. It's strange that he's trading a card out. Especially when this doesn't do any damage. Yeah, he should have kept this for a blocker. He didn't means he thinks I might have Roger, so a series of very strange play by him. So that's the problem, that's the strength of this meta, right? Your opponent is always trying to guess whether or not you have Roger, and as a result, right, they tend to make certain, I consider like silly mistakes. Okay, so 3 cards left. Chances are it's about a 4k counter. If I hit him with 10k, he has no choice but to block. Yep, so like the likelihood of him having anything more than a 4k counter is really low just now. So doing this, he's forced to block and I'll end the game with a 12k hit. So I think that really shows the strength of RP Roger. I started on the turn that it's advantageous to ace, but with the correct play, right, it's really very hard for him. The amount of thinking that he needs to put into the game it just makes it very challenging for him. And just now, right, if I had made the correct move from the get-go, I played this, I took this, right. Actually, the correct move would just to be play Roger, but I was so fixated on my original endgame plan that I forgot about this. Okay, so against Imu, they will usually want to start second, and this guy did. If I can win this, right, it really shows the strength of like the Roger deck, because Imu on second turn is usually quite challenging to overcome. That's why I usually don't like to start if I have like no buggy. It's really a disadvantage because buggy, right, that 2k attack character on the field against Imu is actually quite important because they have very low cost blockers. You can kind of get rid of them if you have your Rayleigh, so you rest them and then you attack. So usually I like to have a searcher or buggy on the field, but I mean you don't get to choose when you are Roger. It's all about how lucky you are, to be honest. Okay, so usually I'll commit all the dons. Normally you want to attack with 7, right? But for him, a lot of Imu players will play the event card immediately, so you want to kind of force them to use the bigger one, in my opinion, because they might have either ones. Okay, Goro say. This is actually, normally I think this is bad for him. He usually wants to play at least one of the blockers. Okay, I need some cards. I'm going to intentionally take some of his attacks. Yeah, this one I can counter already. Let me think about it. Because I already have Gaban. He doesn't have a blocker. I don't really need to rest any of his cards. Okay, so no chance of event counters here for him. Drawing some card always helps. Probably not gonna need the relay anytime soon. Okay, so usually I like to 7k in, 8 cost turn, 5 dons. If he gets the Jupiter card, I'll be in some form of problem. So I'm going to try to get rid of his Saturn. Because if he has Jupiter, he can hit me 7k 2 times, which is going to be very draining. Alright, I mean he wants to get rid of that, by all means go ahead. Oh, another searcher, interesting. Alright, I mean that's kind of advantageous for me. He's not going to Stasi me. I can actually already play Roger. Having Roger out early gives me a lot of options. I can force him to play a turn with Stasi, and he's likely to use one of the event cards. He's already used one. Okay, that's the second one. Maybe this would be a third. Oh, okay. Maybe he was saving it, but the likelihood of a Stasi usually is pretty low on a 10 cost turn. Okay, Grose. So if he's going to try to get rid of my Roger with his Venus card, he's going to be able to strike 13k into 11k. That's the maximum he can do. And because this is 2k and 1k, I'll be able to defend it. Okay, so nobody ever defends. So don't try to defend the smaller cards when you're a Roger. It's usually a waste of counter. So you just want to keep the big cards on the field, because anything less than 9k usually is a waste of your resources to protect them, frankly. So I want to bet on using the 8 cost one later part of the game where I have less resources. So we just do this first. Okay, we do need to attack 2 times to raise the blocker so that they are less likely to use Stasi, frankly. I will trash Bon Clay. Oh, Stasi's out. Right, so I thought like Stasi was possible, and it indeed came out. Okay, so we're just going to do a 9k here. This is also part of the reason why I don't think just having 2 Rogers in your deck is wise. Yeah, because I feel like it's too easily removed. If I don't attack, Stasi will stay. He'll play... There's already 2 Valkyrie here. He could play a 4th one. And Stasi will stay on the board for a while, which is a challenge for me. But at the same time, if I play it, he has no Venus. So to hit it at all, he will need to employ Venus. So I think I'm actually safe. Yeah, I can't hit him. Cause if I attack him with a 9k, he can easily just put like a 5k or something that will get some damage in. Okay, I'm going to take this just because I want to have a bit more cards in my... Oh, interesting. He has only 1 Valkyrie left though, so very strange play by him. Okay, so he's saving for the event card. I mean, kind of interesting. Okay, let's have a look what he has here. 1 event, 2 event. I'm going to waste some of his firepower here. I think I could still win the game if I have 1 less of this, which will probably be the case at the end of the turn. Alright, so I'm going to play Uta here. Let's take this. Right, so the game plan, right, is to force him to use his Gorose. Yep. Okay, so this, right, for me, naturally I will counter it. Not with the blocker yet. I think I won. Not sure though. Okay, let's have a look. 10k. 10k again. 10k again. Okay, so if I go 7k, he takes 2. If I go 9k, I will usually get 1 damage in. So I'm going to do 10 and 11. Let's try it. Oh! I lost. I might have lost here, my friends. I mean, it's not over. Not entirely over, I can always try to defend. Yeah, I didn't need to put anything there. He couldn't have defended anyway. Okay, strange move. Okay, I can do this. Okay, defend this again. Oh yeah, I need a counter. Because it's a Venus, I actually lose. Oh, I won. It was not a Venus. Right, so I actually think he made some mistakes. If he was more ambitious with his attack here, he could have still won. I also made some mistakes. I guess I could have been a little bit more patient with my play instead of going in with the Uta. I think getting rid of one of his attackers, not using my Uta to try to end the game, I could have still played 1 more turn. So overall, honestly, I feel like, yeah, it was kind of close, but I started first. I didn't get a Shanks in. overall, I think this was just shows that RP Roger is indeed strong. I mean, I didn't play very well here. Okay, we're going first here. Ooh, wow, I have nothing to pick. That's a rare occurrence, but it does happen. Okay, 5 cost Tashigi, always a pain to deal with. That's painful. Very painful. And we will know he has a Tashigi, so the next card played is going to be pretty pointless. Okay, kind of forced to defend this one. Should have used this. Mistake was made today. Mistake was made today. If I used this, then I could have saved the 1k counter. Oh, I forgot. And I made it such that this guy won't be able to attack at all. So I just need to take 1 and save the 1k counter. Big mistake here. Okay, doesn't really matter. I won't be able to get rid of the Tashigi either ways. Just letting it rest for the fun of it. Cause after this turn, probably only Tashigi is gonna be the one attacking me. He might defend this. He might. It's not very wise, but he might. Right. Oh, interesting. So it's gonna tank me a few times. Actually, this is a good time for me to use this again, actually. Yep. Not what I would have preferred to do, but don't have much of a choice here. He forgot he is minus 1k. So this is partially part of the reason why I feel like Conqueror's Haki is so strong, insanely strong. Okay, so next turn he's going to do the 15k thing. Oh, interesting. Alright, so here I can actually save my Roger and I'm essentially going to win, I think. Right, so that's so against Zoro, right? My opinion is that it's always a rush to end the game. It's always a rush to end the game. If you are able to outpace him, you are likely to win the game. It's not so much against like Ace and Imu, you need to really control your resources. But against Zoro, you have to make it such that by the time you end the game, right, you use them all up. Because that's how powerful it is. You don't have to save it for the later part of the game. Just keep using your counters when you need to if you can, save your board. So it's a lot of calculation. You have to make sure that you have enough. If you don't have enough to save your board, then don't waste any of your counters. Alright guys, so this is my RP Roger deck. I hope you enjoyed the video. So again, when I play RP Roger, being an unlucky person, in tournaments, I usually will really have super breaks 1 or 2 times. But overall, I'm still doing like, I'm getting around the top 8 area quite often. It's very difficult to win first. I think you need to be very lucky. And so Roger, I think it's fun. I don't think it's the best deck in the meta. But at the same time, right, when things go right for it, there is no deck that can say for sure can beat it. So I think if you are the kind of player that don't really want to have a matchup where you are almost guaranteed to lose, no matter whether you're starting first or second, then I think Roger is the deck for you. But if you really need consistency in your deck, even if you have a bad matchup, then I think Roger, maybe you don't want to try that, unless you're a super lucky person. Alright, so that's it for this video. We'll see you again when we come out with another deck guide or open another case. Bye!